Hey guys, my name is Loveless and we are back with Quirk Knife. So now we're up to chapter 14. Okay, so let's get on straight to it. Why are we screaming? Hitoshi and Izuku finally snapped their jaws shut, the bubbly girl with pink hair wearing a large smile and bouncing on the balls of her feet, looking between the two. Izuku opened his mouth to speak, but closed it again, because what exactly was he supposed to say? How does he answer this girl's question? She jumped up and down while radiating pure excitement. So I said, I'm Mei Hatsumi. Just call me Mei. Tell me your names now. Alright, that's kind of blunt for speaking to a stranger, but Izuku didn't mind much. Chaos. He answered on instinct, looking over to his distressed friend, curiously trying to figure out what to say. Okay, you're taking too long. Your name is Fluffy now. Mei pointed to Hitoshi's hair and pointed onto a few of her own hairs lightly. Izuku was taken aback by the girl's lack of self-preservation. What if they were murderers? What if they planted bombs and time was running out? Mei should be screaming, or at least calling the police, or something of that sort. What are you mumbling about being murderers? If you were murderers, you would have killed me by now, Mei pointed out. Are you going to kill me? No, Hitoshi answered quickly, low-key sounding even more suspicious. Mei just shrugged and continued pulling on her strings of her hair lightly. Do you guys not want to talk to me? Her face deflated for a moment, and Izuku only panicked slightly. Izuku flailed his hands around his face immediately. No, that's not it at all. You don't get the wrong idea. Mei's smile was back right away, and her shoulders slumped slightly. Okay, that's super good to hear. I was kind of bored here, and I was worried if you guys would leave right away. Izuku finally pocketed his phone and anxiously adjusted the straps of his backpack, fiddling with the fabric to tighten the fit. Speaking of why you are here in 1 in the morning, Mei laughed, clearly a little nervous as she began to ramble in a similar fashion to Izuku. Well, you see, I was working on a project of mine that I'm not technically supposed to be working on without supervision, but I really wanted to. Then I must have fallen asleep and usually kept the lights on while working since, again, I'm not supposed to be here right now. Guess the sun went down and it's dark now. Then I hear noises and I thought it was my parents, so I turned the lights on and here we are. Izuku was smiling under his helmet. He never met someone who spoke just like him, and now he knew why people often struggled to keep up. Wait, do you own this place? Hitoshi looked around. You seem sorta young to own your own agency. But I mean no judgment. Mei shook her head and turned around, gesturing to the large lab. This is my family's agency, belonging to my mom, Akatsuki Hatsumi. She's away on an exposition in America, or someplace called Buffalo, I think. Mom's selling some new products down there. It's super cool. She'll be back next week though, not too long. Izuku frowned at the way Mei's tone seemed to dip, as she probably missed her mom. Izuku knew he missed his mom. I can't actually take orders. Mei wringed her hands together. I'm not officially trained yet, and I don't have a technological or inventing license. Well, we don't technically have an order, Izuku interrupted in a small voice. Would Mei call the cops on the two of them? She seemed generally excited to have some company, and Izuku liked her as well, so maybe they could be friends. Mei raised her eyebrows curiously, adjusting the golden goggles on her upper forehead, smudging some oil, dirt, and dust of some sort around her face. Well, that's curious. She slimmed her yellow cross-haired eyes. How exactly did the two of you get in? Now that I think about it, I keep the doors locked. Hitoshi and Izuku slowly looked at one another, then peeked back to the window they snuck in through. Mei peered around Hitoshi and looked at the window, then back to the two of them, her eyes growing wide in understanding. Oh, she is definitely gonna call the cops now. There's no way she wasn't afraid. Ah, you two must be some sort of vigilantes or something, right? Izuku squeaked and threw his hands up in the air wildly once more. No, hi, Fluffy is definitely not a vigilante. He's just tagging along with me. I am, a vigilante though, I guess. May shook her hands in a little fist, smiled wider. Wow, that's really cool. You probably need some support items, don't you? Well, luckily, me and my babies are here to help. Babies? Hitoshi tilted his head. Isn't child labor, like, illegal? May laughed loudly, playfully knocking her shoulders into Hitoshi's side. You're funny. No, my babies are my inventions, silly. Now, Mr. Chaos Vigilante. May stepped back and began eyeing Izuku. It looks like you picked it out of a junkyard. Hitoshi snorted dramatically. That's because he did. Shut up. Izuku whined as he was sold out. Not all of it. Some of it is borrowed. Stolen, May corrected and held a finger up. Just don't steal from me, and I really don't care. Ah, yet another morally ambiguous child. I love to see it. Your costume is just impractical, let alone boring and uncreative. Come on, give it a little personality, why don't you? May began walking circles around Izuku as she hummed to herself. I like the helmet, but with proper tinkering, I could make it more durable and light, not to mention those pants. Pockets are good, material is horrible. And the sweater? Seriously? It's kind of an ugly color, too. Damn! Izuku cried. I wasn't aware this was shit roast on Chaos Party tonight. What the fuck? Sorry, May chuckled. Just observations. Besides, Izuku rubbing his neck sheepishly, I don't exactly have access to quality materials and tools, you see. It's kind of a long story, and that I really don't want... Ah, May hiccuped. So that must be why you broke in, to get some resources. Izuku nodded. Yes, but... Whoa, is that a capture weapon? May scrambled over to the fabric on the work desk and gently touched the fabric, murmuring to herself, and lifted it to examine the underside. Her attention span is worse than yours, Hitoshi teased quietly. Izuku nodded in amusement. Yeah, it is. Izuku joined on her side. So pretty much I need to make some little adjustments on it. May nodded absent-mindedly as she was picking at the fabric with some tools that were scraping around her wrist. Ah, this is amazing. The two began talking at a rapid pace, often speaking over one another, yet somehow still understanding what the other person was saying, while Hitoshi stood there awkwardly, shoulders hunched in as he nodded along, pretending to understand what was going on. I totally want in on this project, May screamed suddenly. It's not every day I get to analyze and play with such a rare baby. No telling my parents, though. Izuku nodded enthusiastically. Cool. I brought some of Fluffy's hair so we can weave it into the fabric, although I'm not exactly sure how to get the strands of DNA out. May hummed and rubbed her chin. Maybe that's not necessary. I got an idea. Let's go testing. Izuku laughed loudly and threw his hands up. Science! Izuku wandered the streets on patrol, humming quietly to himself as he twirled his new knife around his index finger. He, May, even Hitoshi helped to construct their new little brand of knives, all being retractable to help with safer transportation. Turns out May wasn't happy to find out Izuku already accidentally cut himself while running around with unprotected knives in his pocket and dangling from his utility belt. Playing with the blade, Izuku watched the black metal slip into the green handle, then back out as he fidgeted with the button. Skipping down through the more run-down part of town, a muffled cry had Izuku pause in his step as he extended his blade, sneaking towards to the sound. Shut it, boy! A child covered his mouth as he clearly trying to keep himself from sobbing, his pink hair matted and neglected. I'm sorry, Papa. A swift hand came towards his cheek, and the man slurred in his drunken state. It's sir, you insufferable, unwanted piece of flaming shit. You're lucky I even let you live. The man, the father, Izuku presumed, pushed the boy down again. If it weren't for your stupid mother, I wouldn't have to look at you every fucking day. Izuku knew that he should help. He wanted to, but his legs were frozen and his knees were locked. At this moment, Izuku couldn't see pink hair on a large man. No. He had olive skin and black eyes, freckles dotting around the man's skin as he breathed out smoke. Most are lucky with amazing quirks, my little Midoriya, just like me. But you were lucky to be born. You're lucky I let you survive. A phantom pain on his torso made Izuku's gut twist. It felt like he was being burned all over again. The little boy flinched as his father leaned down with his hand outstretched, palm emitting some sort of smoke. Please, the boy hiccuped, and Izuku understood now. His father was going to burn his face of his own child. What a monster. It's funny how fate seems to play with Earth's humans, isn't it? Oi! Izuku cried and threw his dagger. Eat shit! The dagger went clean through the man's outstretched hand, causing him to draw away from the child, and he staggered back in pain. Izuku placed himself between the two and held his rods out tightly. Leave the kid alone. The kid looked up with watery eyes, an expression of amazement on his face. Are you a hero? Izuku looked down at the boy. He looked all too familiar. It's honestly like looking back in time. I'm here to help. Izuku chose his words carefully as to not lie to the child, but also to not scare him. You're gonna help me? The kid's bottom lip trembled. No one's ever helped me before. Izuku didn't realize this revelation at the time, but now he knew this was what he disliked. Heroes truly took a tumble, because heroes never bothered to help those in the shadows. Where there were no attention, no cameras, there were no heroes. How pathetic. Just smile, kid. You don't need to be scared anymore. Izuku gave a thumbs up, trying to ignore the tremor in his limbs. The fuck? You think you're a hero? The man slurred over his words, swaying in his spot. I never said that, Izuku said in a dangerous tone. So this is really unfortunate for you. The man held out a good hand, his palm growing white and orange and red. An imprinting quirk with heat. Izuku mumbled to himself that caused some real damage to the kid, and his anger only grew. The man lunged forward, and Izuku turned, scooping the kid up and placing him some distance between the two. Just wait here. Can you do that for me? Izuku asked. The boy nodded shakily. If something happens to me, you have to run super fast, like lightning. The kid nodded again. I can do that. I'm super fast. I bet you are, Izuku encouraged. Okay, I'll be right back. When the boy smiled at him, with nothing but hope glinting in his eyes, Izuku's heart began to beat faster. He was going to save him, even if it was the last thing that he ever did. Oi! Izuku roared as he marched towards the intoxicated man. You like hurting people. Come catch me then. He spun with his rods in his hand and stood his ground, the man charging with a stumble. Izuku lurched himself forward, side-kicking the man in the right torso, hard enough to make him wheeze. The vigilante dropped to the ground and swept the man's legs, causing him to fall. It was too late to notice the man had reached for him, though, and his burning palms wrapped around Izuku's wrist. Izuku screamed and pulled away, growling in anger as he hit the man over the head with his rod. And again, and again, and again. Some blood splattered onto Izuku's visor as he continued bashing the man. Reaching for his knife in his belt, and he flipped the blade up, holding it above the man's throat. Just before Izuku plunged the weapon into the man's jugular, Izuku blinked and saw his face. Hisashi's face, that is. He let out a shuddering breath, and he let the knife fall back onto his knees, and he gripped his arms tightly. You did it! The boy shouted from the distance and shook Izuku back to reality. Right, he got more stuff to do. Luckily, the injury wasn't as bad as Izuku thought, though his nose was broken, some teeth were shattered, a definite concussion, and several wounds to his head. Whoops. Izuku went through his normal routine, just sending a quick message to someone on the police force. He had found Eraser's phone, Takashi. The man was tied up, and Izuku signed his signature XOXO Chaos on a sticky pad, then carefully removed the dagger and clothed the wound. The man would be fine. Probably. Who are you? The pink-haired boy asked with a shine in his eyes. What's your hero name? There was no point in correcting the boy now, right? Chaos. Izuku said gently. Name's Chaos, kid. What about you? Keigusuko. He responded quietly. Do I have to go home with Papa now? No, Izuku said quickly. You'll never have to deal with him again. I'll make sure of that if the police don't. You have anyone else to stay with? Kagasuko nodded. He doesn't let me see Mama anymore, but I don't know why. He says that everything's her fault, and so she can't see me. Well, this is all too familiar. It's getting creepy at this point. Sirens approaching, and Izuku ruffled the boy's hair. All right, police are here. I have to go. Don't forget to keep smiling, okay? Kasuko nodded, and Izuku ran off, the boy shouting with one fist raised. One day, I'll be a hero just like Chaos. Oh, Kasuko. Somebody wanted to be like him. Shota leaped from roof to roof using his new capture scarf to propel him forward, his eyes scanning everything with accuracy and care. It was another quiet night. It has been for a while, at least since his little problem child joined the game. Wait, his? Blue and red sirens caught his attention. Shota, looking down below, can see a bloody man being shoved into a cop car while a little boy spoke adamantly to the police officer. And then he was like, boom, and pow, he's my favorite hero now. Shota crossed his arms in thought. Shadow shouldn't be on patrol in his area tonight, and he was the only male hero around here besides him that worked underground. Unless the boy is referring to Mindbuster, the kid probably didn't know their proper pronouns. Chaos is super cool. You should have seen it. Shota sighed slowly, as if on cue. A quiet hiss came from the rooftop next to him. Chaos sitting across it, legs bent over himself. Chaos sitting cross-legged and bent over himself. Shota approached carefully. Chaos, what did you do this time? The vigilante looked quickly, Shota's heart skipping a beat when he saw splattered blood across his helmet. That couldn't be good. Instead of responding with a snarky comment like usual, Chaos simply returned to his task at hand, wrapping some sort of bandage around his wrist. Shota groaned and took some steps to get even closer, kneeling down across from the kid. Chaos finally looked back up after a few minutes of painfully struggling. I see you got a new scarf. Shota snorted and jokingly gripped it closer to his body. What, did you think that was my only one? Chaos shrugged and sniffled under his helmet. Was he crying? Oh, is your injury that bad? Shota panicked slightly. He should have spoken up before. No, it's not that. Chaos waved a hand weakly. Just thinking about some things. Shota hummed. Yeah, I do that too sometimes. I hope so. You're a hero after all. With a slight nervousness to his gesture, Shota reached out gently, took the tensor from Chaos's shaky hands. Can I help? Is that okay? It was hard to tell since Shota was unable to see the expression the vigilante wore, but his body language was quite clear. The kid did not like being touched, nor did he want to be. It was after a long stretch of silence that Chaos finally offered his burnt hand to Shota, holding it out and letting the pro hero quietly work. Is there something bothering you? Shota mumbled. He has never been good with tears. Do you want to tell me? Chaos' feet wiggled in his red shoes like a child. Chaos's feet wiggled in his red shoes in a childlike action, and his helmet tilted upward a bit. No. Okay. Shota contemplated on whether or not he should continue to fill the silence, but Chaos beat him to it. My friend and I are learning a lot about your scarf. Shota couldn't help but let his curiosity get the best of him for several reasons, mainly because Midoriya's family friends specified that Izuku had nowhere to go because he had no friends. Yet here, the suspect, Izuku Midoriya, spoke of his friends with a found tone. Yeah, like what? Shota settled on tucking the end of the tensor bandage into his singled sleeve. Like it uses DNA, which means that you can alter its user. Chaos explained, with hairs, so we're gonna fix it. I'm surprised you figured that out on your own, Shota mumbled. And where would he get the tools for all this fine work? There you are, all patched up. Thank you, Chaos whispered as he packed up his bag again. Although I could have done it myself, and shit. Shota panicked slightly. What? What's wrong? I promised to get you coffee, Chaos cried. I'm so sorry. I didn't even think of it. Oh my god. I'll get it to you. I swear. Problem child. Take a breath. Shota said gently, not missing the way Chaos flinched out of his reach when he tried to put a hand on his shoulders. No matter. Chaos pulled his backpack on. I'll get you some coffee, eventually. I swear. The Vigilante turned towards the fire escape, and Shota couldn't help it, so he decided to take a leap. Are you Izuku Midoriya? There was a pause as Chaos balanced on the first step of the ladder. He tilted head in a playful manner. Now where would you get an idea like that, Shota Aizawa? Or should I say Shota Yamada Aizawa? No one knows they're married. Don't worry, our little secret. Guess I owe you for helping me out. Bye, Eraser. Chaos slid down the ladder, and Shota scratched the back of his neck, looking up at the night sky. What the fuck? Oh my god, I love it. It took too long to actually complete this. Too long. But I still did it. Took a little break from doing all this, but now I'm back to it. And also kids exist, so screaming kids in the background is not good content. So yeah, that's what makes it take even longer. But other than that, if you want to see more of this good stuff, you know what to do.